Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Boss Rush Podcast, a great place to play games and be better. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deering, and alongside me, as always, is the PC muscle race himself, LeRon Dawkins.
What's poppin'?
Hi, LeRon.
Hey.
Good to see
how's
you.
How's it going?
See you.
It's always wonderful to see you.
I know. It's because I'm so wonderful.
Hey, Mr. Wonderful.
Also wonderful is the mad pharmacist herself, Stephanie Klimoff.
Cheers! Back from vacation. It's nice to see you guys.
I know. One vacation last week, another one next week. Man, we're just we're taking it easy this
We're starting to slack, getting lazy.
I know. Also joining us, someone very, very, very cool, but I was told to just introduce him as Just Tony. Hello, Just Tony.
Hello, everyone. I don't know about the cool part or the very cool part, but if I will gladly take the compliments.
I'm a little bit jealous of your hair, mostly because I have none. But
thanks.
Yeah, I always see him like swish it to the side. I'm like, oh, it's so perfectly straight too.
I know he's got that hair where he can go like this and then be like super cool. Oh, really jealous.
I actually found had gone through many stylists in order to find one that could give me the look, and it was a progress, like a process of doing this, and I think I'm okay at this point now. If she ever quits, then I'm done. I'm just gonna keep growing my hair forever.
Well, Tony, we're happy that you are joining us. You want to tell people who you are and kind of a little bit about yourself before we get into the meat of this show?
Sure. So, hi everyone. I am Tony. By day, I work as a game designer focused on gameplay systems and combat. And by night, I like to think of myself as a world warrior, and I play fighting games and commentate for fighting games sometimes. And every now and then, I travel to tournaments and do moderately okay to very bad in them.
But now it makes so much sense because I knew generally what you do, but I didn't know you had a specialty in fighting games. So I'm like, Tony knows so much about Street Fighter when you were whooping everyone's ass, like when you guys were playing. I'm like, he's talking about waking up or whatever all these terms are.
Oh,
like,
are you a frame counter? Do you count frames?
I mean, you have to, right? If you are a competitive player, you kind of have to understand the basics of frame data.
I don't have the eye to count frames. Like I play a lot of Tekken, and man, and like some of the people I play with, they will literally tell you, "Oh, that's unsafe. And they'll say 2 frame. They're saying you're like you have 2 frames of recovery that someone can like nail you with. And it's like, oh my God, stop it.
Well,
go ahead.
I think some of it isn't. It's less about being able to eyeball frames, because like really normal human reaction time is like 5 to 6 frames, yes. Right? Assuming that we're counting frames at 60 frames per second. That's like using that as a standard. The reason why I bring that up is because if you're an animator, you tend to use things like 45 frames a second or 30 frames a second because you want your animation to be smoother, right? Mm-hmm. But as a general timekeeping thing, I would say 60 frames per second is kind of the standard. And if you look at the human reaction, right, like 0.2 of a second is roughly around like 12 frames, right? Somewhere around there. So it takes a pretty trained, focused person to react that quickly. So being able to even like see that is even harder. I think frame data in fighting games become very useful when you kind of more or less memorize what moves and if they're advantageous on block or on hit, right? And then that's kind of how you do it. You don't actually like have to count the frames, or so to speak, right? And a lot of games these days in training mode, they'll just straight up show it to you.
They'll show you the frame data now.
Right. Like my character is blue. That means that I am still plus and I can do things. My character is red. That means I can't do anything anymore, right? And you just have to kind of like memorize the moves that causes those things. And then figure out, like, based on your character, if you have anything that is quicker than the allotted time in between moves to, insert yourself.
Yep, I'm just gonna continue button mashing.
Well, the one thing I really respect now about fighting games though is like even though there's a tier list, the tier list is all like speculative because people can take the Z tier character and win all the tournaments.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think fighting games has gotten better now, right?
Yes.
As much as I miss the arcade days, fighting games have gotten easier to update thanks to the fact that everything is now PC, or digital, and an update just rolls out like patches, right?
Yeah.
So character tier list gets kind of, they get shaken up pretty easily based on patches, right? And then of course you always have like the character loyalists who, they love a character for that character, and it doesn't matter where that character sits, on the tier list, whether it's on the throne at top tier or on the basement in the bottom tier. They're going to take that character and they're going to run with it, right? And it is interesting to see that, right? And in tournament, you kind of see that. And yeah, there are definitely players who play top tier, but just because you play like mid to low tier character, it doesn't mean that your chances of winning is less, right? You just have to, you essentially have to play a little better. You have to outplay your player a little, your opponent a little better, and then you have to make a little bit less mistake and be a little bit cleaner on your own play. But that is definitely achievable.
Yeah.
Well, we're glad you're here. I always admire fighting games from afar, and when I go to play them, I'm like, I don't know what to do.
See, I can read his
Fireball.
mind. He was like stupid fighting games.
Or I'm just Blanca and just smash the B button and electrocute everybody until they hit me, and then or E Honda, in Street Fighter 2 with all the slap hands.
Well, Tony, help me out here for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Super Smash Brothers, fighting game or party game?
Actually, I think it could be both. Why not both? Right?
Why not both, LeRon? See?
Why not both? So I would say that as a party game, it is a lot of fun. You turn on item mode and you have, whatever rules you want set to it, and it's a good game. It's designed well. It has a lot of good fundamentals. The gameplay is awesome, and for a versus game, like, it respects a lot of the rules of fighting games, which is great. Mm-hmm. As a tournament game, right, once again, all you do is you kind of remove some of that randomness, items, whatever, and then you play it more as a character versus character with like the rule of, like, I think it's like 5 stocks, for 2 out of 3. And yeah, it could work as a fighting game as well, because it's a very technical game, right? It's one of those games where I would say that there is a breadth of skill that variance that allows, right? You can have your day 1 fun, you can have your week 1 fun, you can have your year 1 fun, and you can have your year 10 fun, right? Like, and the fact that there's, like, pro Smash players out there that's still like dominating, like, brawl or melee or whatever version that they play, kind of tells you that there is definitely a level of mastery to them.
Ha, LeRon.
Ha! How about King
Not
DDD
quite-
and you just
not-
hit the smash
not-
stick?
Not quite the
That's
answer
what I
I was looking for, but you know what? I'll accept it.
If you want to be technical, LeRon, it is called a platform fighter.
Those games are too chaotic. If anything, they
That
should
sounds
be
like
called,
code for LeRon's.
If anything, they should be called brawlers. Like, they should be in the same classification as like the Naruto games and all that. In my opinion.
I mean, I think earlier on there is a rift between kind of the fighting game community and the Smash community, right? But I think as games become more accessible, right, it's just it's just good to have more people in a scene.
I
right?
agree. I agree.
So now you have other games that are coming out that are kind of like borrowing from the same concept of like as like Smash Brothers, right? So now you have Multiverse, which is super wild when it needs to be, but at the same time, it like make no mistake, the devs on that team comes from a fighting game background, right? So they understand like the need to create chaos and spectacle when necessary, but also have good fighting game fundamentals layered in to make that competitive aspect worthwhile, right? Because I think what happens is when a game becomes too wild and too random, you can't make it a good competitive game, right? Like as fun as we think competitive dice rolling is, I feel like it's more fun in concept and less fun in execution.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. Well, fighting games.
I'm not good at it, and
I'm
you know,
not
LeRon,
either.
even though I was poking fun at you like about it's a fighting game, I have shied away from Smash for a while. I like the first edition of Smash because it was, when I say slow, I mean it was less chaotic. I see my Pikachu jump, then I do my thunder, then I grab and I throw. When I first bought Ultimate, whatever that was, when it first came out, and like it just everything was moving too fast. So I'm like, either no, there's no option. I'm just getting old and I'm slowing down. And
Well, I wouldn't say you're slowing down or anything. I wouldn't say that because like a game like that, for one thing's for sure, Smash is a series that's built around this player base. Like when you look at Street Fighter, when you look at Tekken, when you look at the traditional fighting games, they're built for innovation, whereas Smash is built for the fan base, which is why every time they have these characters reveal, character reveals, Nintendo fans just jizz their pants all around the world. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It could be the character you didn't want, but people are jizzing their pants. Because I could care less about that final reveal.
with Sora. Come
Oh,
on.
Yeah,
the one I called in 2018 on Nintendo Power Block.
Yeah,
2017.
you called it. You did call it. You called and you reminded people about that too.
I do. I will remind everybody till I'm not on this planet anymore. Called it. Called it.
But yeah. So ooh, my camera just got all crazy. But yeah, I mean, like that's
because you're a Kingdom Hearts hater. That's why.
It's probably it. Like the assembled mana of like all the Kingdom Hearts fans and the Nintendo fans combined, we're just like, we're smiting this motherfucker right now. But yeah, like the one thing, yeah. So fighting games, like each iteration moves for enhancing the game, whereas like Smash, and Smash is genuinely unique because like the other games that are built in that same vein, like I compare it to Naruto and just now and stuff like that. Even those new iterations are based on innovation and stuff like that, enhancing the game. But it's that's why I also say Smash is more of a party game because like it's there for pure player enjoyment.
It's true. It is.
It's not that disrespected. It's not that disrespected.
Unless you're my nephews who lose every time they play me because I'm a terrible uncle. Don't let them win.
No, you got to teach them how to lose.
Yeah, teach them how to lose. Yeah.
You got to make them earn their wins.
Yeah, you think when I introduced Mario Kart to my son, I was going to let him beat me? Hell no. No.
To be fair, my wife still uses the easy mode stuff on Mario Kart when we play. Like she makes me like, will you make it go for me so I can just focus on driving? I'm like, sure.
Well, I don't use easy mode at all because I don't play the damn game.
Well, it's because you suck.
No, that game is trash.
Moving on. Changing subject.
You know what? Before I get really angry, I'm going to move on to our Patreon. If you want to support the Boss Rush podcast as well as our other shows here on the Boss Rush Network, you can head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/Boss Rush Network, where you can get early access to 5 shows for $1 a month. It's 5 shows. That's the Boss Rush podcast. It's Boss Rush After Dark. Let's Talk the Walk. Very
Yeah.
popular, I hear.
An episode just came out for Life is Strange.
It
I
did.
loved it. I finished it today.
It did. The 1v1 interviews you get a week early, and Nintendo Power Block expansion pass. You get all that early. By the way, Lady Bosses, that episode, blowing up. It's
Really?
our most popular episode in a long time, probably since the last one.
Do you think it's just because people know it's just a bunch of girls talking about video games? Because it was a good episode too, and
It was a great episode.
It was a great episode.
I
But I
listened
just
to it,
kinda-
and then I turned around and watched it at work because I ran out of podcasts and needed something to listen to. And I was like, well, that was a good one, so I'll listen to that.
Yeah. Oh no,
Aw.
that was a great episode. Like I mean, I usually
Celeste is coming
have
for my job, I think.
Yeah, it feels like it, right? I usually have one of Boss Rushes, like sometime during the week. I usually have at least one of Boss Rushes, like podcasts, like on in the background. But what was that? What was like hour and how many minutes? It was almost a 2 hour show.
It was an hour. No, it was only like an hour and a half.
It was an hour and a half. It felt like it was a 2 hour show, but like it was literally one of those ones that had my attention for a good stretch of the entire time. It was like I was at my desk working, and I had my side monitor over here, and it's playing on my side monitor, and it feels like every 2 minutes I was like watching it and not just listening to it.
Aw.
Yeah, it was a good one. Don't worry, everybody, you're going to be disappointed when it's just me and LeRon on that free episode the next week. But anyways, you can support us at the $1 tier and get early access, or you can become a Patreon producer at the $5 tier, which grants you early access and a shout out on this here program. So here we go. Our Patreon producers for this episode are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian Skipper, my wife, Sana Dierig, Francisco Santillan, Rebecca Jewell, and a new Patreon producer, Always on Deck Comedy. Welcome to the show. So,
Wow.
yeah, we're really racking them up.
We're getting somewhere.
Yeah,
I do miss Prince Unsmooth Toes, though.
I know. Come back, Prince on Smooth Toes. We need your unsmooth toes. I want to thank all of our Patreon producers. I want to thank all of our patrons, and I want to thank all of our free listeners. Remember, all of our content remains free. We just provide you with some perks if you subscribe. If you are a freeloader, no, I'm just kidding. If you are a free listener, please leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. If you're watching the video, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the like, bell, all the YouTube words that people say.
Ding dong.
Leave a comment, all those things. Follow us on Twitter at Boss Rush Podcast, and thanks for supporting us. By the way, guys, this is episode 160. That's
Wow.
weird. That's weird. But
I feel like
160.
I feel like Crossroads is catching up. Like we just did 101.
I know.
We just wrapped 101.
well, if you keep going and we keep going, then you'll never catch up.
That's true. That's true.
Unless you start pumping out like 3 episodes a week, then maybe you'll catch up someday. LeRon's face when I said that.
Oh, nah. No, it's something caught my attention on my computer.
Yeah, once
screen.
again, not paying attention.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I'm completely engaged in the conversation.
It's cool, dude. It's cool. Next week.
Excuse me. I'm just trying to organize my Plex server. All these episodes of Dragon Ball Super are not going to fix themselves.
I mean, they're not going to fix themselves anyway, as from what I hear. That's the internet talking. Powblock's about to hit 320.
Wow.
That's too many episodes.
Hey man. Shoot. God dang it. Not what's the show? I was invited there on Sunday.
Secret Friends?
No, not that one. Not that one.
This Trek one?
No, wait. Maybe it is.
Code 47?
No, Secret Friends Unite. It is Secret Friends Unite. They just hit 401.
I know.
Wow.
They've
They've been going for a long time.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
shoot for the stars, guys.
They started. I've been part of 3 podcast groups since they started.
Wow. Hey, since we're talking about other podcasts, just super quick, I listened to one of the recent Zelda podcasts. They used to be Champions Cast, now it's like Zelda Cast or something. And they played through two dungeons through a Ocarina of Time randomizer.
Mm-hmm.
We need to do something like that. I need to play.
Hell,
Come
no.
on!
The
A randomizer for Ocarina of Time? That would be just
LeRon
so
doesn't like that
insane.
game anyway. You're gonna mess it up. You're gonna
Exactly.
make it worse for him.
No, maybe it might
Exactly.
randomize it to the point where he'd like it.
Where I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
You start with the Master Sword and all the cool
There you
things.
go.
You can actually fight the boulder at the beginning when you.
Well, no. Well, no, but randomizer also messes with enemies, like course items and stuff like that. You want it with a what's those things called? A tech type with a Zola's head on it.
I mean, look, you
It
could get
messes
the
with
King
sprite data and
Dodongo, and it
everything.
just ends up being a golden Skulltula, and you'll be fine.
Anyway, I just want to share that. It was fun listening to them.
Yeah, I remember one of the streamers I followed for a long time. He's a big Destiny streamer, but he also does a lot of like retro games. Gathalion, he did Link to the Past randomizer for a while. That was really cool. And he got a randomized roll where like he couldn't finish the game because the randomizer just didn't work that way. So,
well, I'll tell you one game I don't want to play with a randomizer is Breath of the Wild, because that game too damn big. It would be just too big for that.
No, over the Halloween, over the month of October, I just happened to catch someone's Twitch stream, and they were doing Dead Space 1 randomized.
Oh no.
No, like I mean, there was monsters in areas they were never supposed to be in the first place. Like some of them were too big for the areas they were in, but guess what? They were trucking along like there was nothing holding them back, and so I was like, no.
Speaking of Dead Space, that's another one that's getting a remake too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. The original Dead Space, out of the entire like franchise, the original Dead Space still damages my calm. So I cannot wait for the remake.
Yeah. The original Dead Space was really, really good on like space horror. Like they capture like the enclosed space, that like on the uncertainty around every corner. And it like had all of the lighting, the sound, the effects, like the controls, and then the even the UI, how they like built the UI into the back of Isaac's suit.
I love it.
Right, so you don't have to like pull up a menu to check stuff, and then like when you did need to pull up a menu, it was very like
it was a hologram.
It was like diegetic, right? It was very like in game. So like they did a lot to create that immersion, which was super, super awesome.
Yeah, my goal is to play more games and more games that I don't like to play, like horror games. So
yeah, you and Stephanie both, y'all are weenies.
I know.
Hey, I'm putting in the effort, okay?
I'm a big fat weenie.
Your boyfriend and I were talking about you the other day.
Oh no, you just got him in trouble.
Yeah, I can't remember what horror game is he playing recently.
What Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
Yeah, and he was saying how like you were in the room with them, but you would turn away at like the most opportune moments.
Tattletale! You're watching live right now. You're a tattletale.
I see you. What's his username? Let's see. It's probably not Lori Pub. Nope.
Oh, hi, Lori Pub.
Probably not Alicidra. I don't know. Sorry, I pronounced your name wrong. It's fine.
Anyway.
I'm going to close that now before I pronounce anybody else's name wrong.
Maybe he fell asleep.
Tony, save us. You're our esteemed guest. What are you playing?
Right now, I actually, was on vacation, but I'm about to crack into some Bayonetta 3, which came out not that long ago, and God of War Ragnarok, that also came out while I was on vacation. So, you know, the what is it, Data Boy Ragnarok is those two are probably what I'm about to break into.
I started the old PS5 envelope in my desk drawer this week because I'm like, it's time. It's time. Xbox is taking their sweet time putting stuff out, and I want to play some new games. So, God of War looks really good. I want to play it so bad. I even thought about playing the old one again, and I'm like, oh, I sold my PS4 to get an Xbox Series X, so I guess not. Oh man, good times.
Speaking of which, I actually saw an Xbox Series X on the sales floor today at Target.
What?
Yeah.
Yep.
PlayStation Direct actually has PlayStations in stock right now.
Like, I still can't get a Series X. That's I've been wanting a Series X because the Xbox like live play thing is really good, and you just get to try a bunch of new games for basically free as it comes out.
Yeah. And I actually downloaded Deathloop because I want to try it out. This weekend.
Very good game.
Yeah,
very good game.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on Game Pass right now that I really want to try out. I just got back from vacation and trying to catch up on a bunch of things, but yeah, like I love what Xbox is doing. I love Game Pass. I love their backwards compatibility strategy and how everything that old looks new and plays new and whatever, but like they haven't really put out a big title since Halo. So I would say Deathloop is theirs, but
they're in that like weird incubation period right now, right?
Yeah.
Like Microsoft went out and purchased a bunch of studios to essentially have like a bunch of first party studios at their disposal.
Yeah.
And those studios have produced like really good games, right? Like if you look at some of the odd ones, well, not really odd ones, but the ones that they purchased, like off the top of my head, there's like Ninja Theory, which if you've not played Hellblade, like you should definitely check that game out. Super good, right?
It has a next gen upgrade too, so it runs
exactly
really
right.
nice.
And then they bought In Exile, right? Which does really good on like our RPG type games. They now own Bethesda, right? Like
Yep.
everything that comes with that. On top of that, they have a couple of studios that they kind of like kickstarted on their own, right? Which is like the Initiative, right? Which is working on Perfect Dark, right? Another classic. So I think they're kind of in this weird period of like they will have a bunch of things first party soon, TM, but it's just a matter of like when is that?
Yeah, I mean next year already looks promising for Xbox, right? It's just like everything just keeps getting delayed, and then it just I don't know. I don't want to say I'm disappointed in my purchase because I'm not, and technically PlayStation stuff, most of it's cross-gen too, but it just feels like you have all these studios now, like, and I know, I know that game dev isn't easy, right? I know that Obsidian just put out that new game that is getting rave reviews too, that adventure game. What's it called? I forget what it's called, but everybody loves it.
The vampire game?
No,
okay, not that one. Okay.
What's Obsidian? Hold on, I gotta look it up. It's gonna bother me now. Obsidian. Whoops. Man, my keyboard. By the way, my keyboard that I use at home is like just slightly bigger than the one I use at work, and it causes all kinds of finger. Pentiment is the game that they just put out.
Oh, Pentiment, yes.
Yeah. That game is getting great reviews. I just like when you look at Sony and they put out Horizon and God of War this year, and you look at Xbox's output this year, and it just feels like where in like the slowdown on Halo and the big things that you point out for Xbox this year was what the Lego DLC for Forza, like. And I know next year is leading off with Redfall and Starfield and Forza Motorsport and that kind of stuff. And I know they're probably going to have some big announcement at the Game Awards. I'm sure Hellblade will be next year. Hellblade's like the one game I'm looking at. Hellblade 2. I'm like, that's it. That's the game for me.
Right.
It's just I don't know, man. I feel like I know they have to announce stuff to get people excited, but it's like you announced some of these games 3 and 4 years ago, That's a long marketing period to get people excited and then disappointed and then try to get them re-excited,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah.
I can definitely see that. And you have some games that they talk about and then it's like radio silence, right?
Yeah.
That happens too. And I think like the adjustment, especially within this like last 3 years of like adjusting to COVID and working from home and like shifting back to like being this hybrid like studio culture or you like fully remote. It's been interesting. Like I am actually impressed that like people were still able to like put out games, right? Considering that like some of these studios like are giant like machines of studios and you have to coordinate with like hundreds of people to get stuff moving. And so yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of the way game dev is, right? Like you don't obviously want to sit on something for too long because either you're going to like the team that's working on it is going to lose enthusiasm for it because it's like we're working really hard on this thing, but we essentially can't tell anyone about it and it's been 3 years, right? Like that's rough because you're just like, I am building something I think is awesome or I hope is awesome, but I can't tell anyone about it. And that kind of is a bummer, right? Or you end up like it leaks, right? Like somebody is like, oh man, look, this thing leaked out, and you're like, cool. Now this big reveal that we had, like somebody just took the sail out of the wind out of our sails, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have to like have something prepped and be like, okay, let's do a reveal, let's do a teaser, right? Like why not? We have something set up, let's do a teaser. So you do a teaser at something like the Game Awards or whatnot, but then like depending on where you are in the development cycle, that teaser could actually be something that's like, well, the game is not like, it's still like 2 years out. We're just trying to get the fan excited, right? And now it's like, what do you do next? Do you try to spend more dev time to create more like teasers, or would you rather spend on that dev time on actual like dev cycle for the actual game, right? And it's just, it's always rough, right? And it's hard to explain to the public because as you guys probably have seen with the recent leaks of various games, right? I forgot what was the big one that hit recently before I went on. Grand Theft Auto, right? Like, and it's like, that game is probably nowhere near complete. Like I would say at least minimum 3 years, like maybe way more, right? And already people are like, oh, this graphic looks terrible, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, man,
I love how unrealistic people can be sometimes.
You can't do that, right? And that's the problem too, is like you constantly have to figure out like when is the right moment. And you're kind of always gauging. And it's like it can't be too short, it can't be too long.
Yeah. To me,
I give kudos. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, to me, like, Xbox has been operating out of a act of almost like, I don't want to say desperation, but something along those lines since Crackdown, basically, because like Crackdown 3 and then Gears 5, and they're like, okay, we got to get people excited. Here's Game Pass. We're announcing, obviously, like day one games, and then they buy all these studios, and then you early announce stuff. But then you look at something like, you look at Perfect Dark and the Initiative, or Fable and Playground, right, where they're hiring massive outside studios. And I know it's nothing new for a major studio to have outside help, right? But Crystal Dynamics makes their own games, right? Tomb Raider, The Avengers, right? But they're helping on Perfect Dark. You know, they're basically taking on almost most of that dev because the initiative can't keep people there or excited about it, or there's creative differences. And now the reports are coming out that IDOS Montreal, who just did Guardians of the Galaxy and Deus Ex, right? They're helping on Fable now. And like some of the stuff has me worried. Of like, are people just like leaving Microsoft because they mismanaged? Are they not excited for the project anymore? You know, I'm just kind of quietly growing concerned about that kind of stuff too, you know?
I mean, I think the most obvious answer most of the time, quote unquote, is scope, right? The scope of the game got way bigger than originally intended, right? You have like, you know, a vision for like a game, and then as like that game builds, and now it's like, oh well, it is a open world game, so we have to do these things, right? And then like, okay, now you have to add time for that, right? And then it's like, well, what about like is this a single player narrative driven game, or is it a multiplayer like game? Right now there's a multiplayer component, and then like that adds time. So generally what ends up happening is like the scope gets too big for just one studio to handle it, right? Because like it really is, at a certain point, a studio just becomes too big to become like actually productive, right? I think there is an actual like curve at which like you have too many people and the productivity actually like drops off because you have too many people, right? And at that point, I think like to avoid that, it makes more sense to like get other studios that are sort of under the umbrella. They can hold a secret because they're all under Microsoft, so there's like, you don't have to worry about like weird NDA stuff. And B, sometimes it is easier to find like specialists, right? For example, if someone was like, oh, we need a driving component for our game, right? Like, and the driving has to feel really good rather than like really awful tank controls or whatever. Like Microsoft could be like, well, you know, Forza has really good handling. Maybe we can like get some of that to supposedly work on like the help with the driving component, right? Depending on how big the budget is and how big the game is. For a game like Fable, right? Like that has so much legacy. So I can imagine Microsoft being willing to be like, okay, let's double down and get people to help out with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a big game, right?
Yeah.
I can't imagine them being like, well, we'll do this and we don't want it to succeed. And same thing with Perfect Dark, right? Like Perfect Dark, like when people talk about Perfect Dark, like, you know, that era of like N64 games, right? There's like, there were a lot of games, but for some reason, that era of N64 games are just like all really heavy nostalgia food, right? Like you talk about GoldenEye, you talk about Perfect Dark, you talk about like, what was the Star Wars game that came out on that, right?
Pod Racer or something?
No. It was
Shadows of the Empire? Or
Shadows of
Rogue
the
Squadron?
Empire,
Yeah.
right? You talk about like the Star Fox game on that. You talk about, you know, like they're just like nostalgia food, and then it puts them in this tier of like the expectation to match the nostalgia is so high. You have to make sure that it comes out right, because I don't know, nostalgia is such a great and deadly poison to use, you know, because
Amen.
like it's great that people have that nostalgia for it and it keeps the franchise alive, but often like the reality is not as good as like what we remember it, right? Like if you go back and play some of the older games and you're like, oh man, this is so janky.
Have you
But
played GoldenEye lately?
No.
I wouldn't try.
Yeah,
Like
that's
15
how I
frames a
felt with
second.
Donkey Kong 64. I was obsessed with that game as a kid. So when I decided to play it again as adult, because I never fully beat it. Like I got to the very end, I need to get some stupid Nintendo and Rare Coin. The the camera angling drove me nuts. I stopped playing.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
the
I mean,
camera horrible.
yeah, but like back then, A, we didn't know any better, and B, like nobody had really developed like
Right. Yeah, yeah.
these were the first consoles that developed 3D games, right? I mean, yeah, you had Doom and Wolfenstein kind of on PC, right? But like nobody knew what they were doing. I mean, look at the first DualShock game with Ape Escape. They used that right stick as a net to catch monkeys, right? That wasn't a camera thing. You used the shoulder buttons to move the camera, you know? So I mean, it's just games are weird, man. But
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean, back to like the Fable discussion we were having, like I understand Fable a little bit because like obviously Playground is a driving game, right? And yeah, they can make these vast open worlds that look great and feel great, but like they probably either had to staff up or outsource the combat because I mean, not really fighting with these cars. This isn't a Matrix. What was that? Enter the Matrix game on PS2 and GameCube where you could actually fight as cars. That was weird. But you know, so that makes sense. It's just like, man, Perfect Dark is the one that you can't screw up too. You know,
That is a big one too. Yeah.
I got really excited when they said when they announced it. I thought it was going to be like a third person stealthy game kind of thing, but then they said it was going to be a first person shooter because that's one franchise I'm like, you could totally change genres and make this a great game. You know, this could be Xbox's Metal Gear Solid or something. But what are you gonna do? I'm not a game dev. I don't know what I'm doing. I just like to turn on my console and play. You know, turn on Nier last night. I turned on
Me
Nier.
too. I like that too.
I turned on Nier last night. And I was like, man, this combat feels so good. I like running around this world. It's just fun. Kudos to the people that know how to make this because I do not. I try to keep that in perspective, but sometimes I'm just like everybody else. Try not to be. Tony's here to put us in our place, I guess.
No, it's hard. It's hard, right? Because as a gamer, we are all essentially impatient, right? Like because we want to play it. Like you know, there are a lot of games that are on my wait list, and I'm just like, when is this game coming out, right? Bayo 3 was one of those, right? I remember watching the like announcement for Bayo 3. And then like Platinum Games just went like radio silent forever, right? There was like a bunch of Nintendo Directs where I'm like, did they just cancel Bayo 3? Like, is that game ever coming out? Right? So I definitely understand. At the same time, like, you know, it's having seen it from the other side, like it's just like any other job, right? There's like long days, it's hard, you know, it's getting things together, getting people to work together, and especially in something like, you know, making games where it's like a lot of clash of creativity, right? Because everybody wants to make the best thing that they can, but the concept of what is the best doesn't always like align based on what people are doing, right?
Yep.
So it's sometimes it could be like wrangling cats. You know, you're just like, if I can just get them all to go one direction, at least for a certain amount of time, I have done my job.
Yeah. Well, 2023 though. Here's going to be a good year for games. I hear. I'm already getting 2 franchises that I love next year, so it's fine. Fire Emblem and Zelda. So.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh yeah, three
I
franchises.
thought you were gonna say Indiana Jones.
Nah, I don't think that
come out next year.
I don't think that's
Really?
coming out next year.
I haven't heard anything on that since like that was it a teaser, I guess?
Mm-hmm. No, we're getting the movie next year though. I hear Harrison Ford likes the movie.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
I mean, he probably likes anything that gives him a paycheck these days.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you had told me Harrison Ford would still be playing Indiana Jones as a geriatric person, I'd have been like, you lost your damn mind.
He loves that character though.
He does. No, that character was definitely. I can't say it was made for him, during Raiders of the Lost Ark, but by the time we got Temple of Doom, like that character was made for him.
Mm-hmm. And then Last Crusade is just a masterpiece of filmmaking.
Oh God, yes.
Masterpiece.
Yes.
Top 3 movie of all time for me.
Name the dog Indiana.
Name the dog Indiana. Yeah. Okay. So Stephanie, what are you playing?
Well, kind of ironic that I also was on vacation. No relation to Tony at all whatsoever.
Zero. None.
Zero.
No pictures on Facebook either.
No. But I flew to Milwaukee first to be a part of Extra Life with EXP folks. I won a lot of prizes, so just real quick show and tell. I got a Zelda belt buckle. I don't wear belts, but I got the belt buckle because the other choice was the Master Sword, which you think would be cooler, but I only had 2 carry-on bags, and it would be hard to either fit that in and or try to explain myself at TSA, and I just didn't want to.
Yeah. I can hear some of the airport right now. Look at bitches carrying a sword.
Right. I won a copy of Returnal.
Ooh.
Awesome game. Awesome
congrats.
game.
I got The Legend of Zelda, Oracle of Seasons, Oracle of Ages, Minish Cap, and Phantom Hourglass manga, just because.
Manga?
Yes.
Manga.
Oh my.
And Pat, shout out to Pat from EXP Cast. He's letting me borrow Yomawari, Lost in the Dark, and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. So I just have a whole bunch of stuff because I can't stop buying things.
Tropical Freeze is a gem.
I got The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker HD.
Ooh. Do you have a Wii U to play it on?
Nope.
Oh, then you can't play it. You just got to stare at it.
Yep, that's okay. It's a Zelda game.
I have that issue of Nintendo Power you just held up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's fun. It's another one I remember reading as a kid. Here's again the crazy thing. There was one Game Boy Color game. I never owned that game, but I just I just read the article and I would just daydream about playing it. It's really, kids will never really understand that.
Yeah.
They won't.
But go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, do you guys remember your first issue of Nintendo Power? Did you guys
number one? I had number 1.
What? And you didn't save it?
Dude, I was like a freaking 12-year-old. I was a 12-year-old when number 1 came out. And I never quite understood the concept of having a collector's item. I understand it now, but still, I'm like a big fucking child because you see all my amiibos are open.
I know, all mine are too.
Why would I spend money buying a second one when I can just play with these right now?
Mine are too.
And also to be fair, I mean, who would have thought that Nintendo Power magazines would actually be a coveted item in years ahead? That's a weird. Well, back then it was kind of like.
Well, here's the thing though. I'm old enough that my parents are like, oh, this is a fad. It's not going to be forever.
Same when people thought Pokemon would be a fad, and look, 25 years later, look at where we are.
Congrats to Ash Ketchum, though.
Right?
He's been catching them. He's been catching them dollar bills. Is what he's been doing.
But
sorry. Go ahead, Steph.
No, Tony, you go.
I was gonna say, speaking of Nintendo Power, you don't have to worry about the nostalgia anymore because now you can go and download all 285, issues of Nintendo Power.
Until Nintendo's stop that shenanigans.
Yeah, until Nintendo says something. But, you can relive the nostalgia. It's not the same as a physical copy, but, I would say digital copies is pretty good these days, especially if you're just looking back, right?
Trust me, I'm looking for a torrent right now.
What? Of which one? Of what one?
All issues of Nintendo Power.
Kotaku just published an article today, and they have a link. You can read all 283.
Yep.
That's
it right there. Until Nintendo takes it down, right?
Right. So
but,
download them ASAP.
Get them while you can.
Nintendo's coming with that hammer.
That's going to be as long as that's up, that's a new segment on Nintendo Power Block. New retro segment. We're just going to read the letters to the editor.
No, for real. Corey, if I find them, I will get them, and I'll make sure you guys have an archive of that. That is gold.
Yeah.
Back when what was his name? Howard Howard was
Todd Howard.
Yeah, Todd Howard was the president of Nintendo, and there was a segment, and they had the comic of Howard and Nestor.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, those were super awesome. There's actually a book that is super interesting that I read, and I think it's called The Console Wars.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that book.
They just made a documentary on it too.
Yeah, and it's basically about the hiring of the president for Sega US and kind of like the rise and fall of Sega during that time of competition against Nintendo. And it is like a really, really fascinating read.
We're not talking about Bernie Stoller, are we?
No.
Bernie Stoller was there for Dreamcast, and he launched the PS1.
It was before that. It was around the Genesis and Sega Saturn.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Console Wars only goes up through the Saturn.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
Where was I going with that? Sega had a very I'm just gonna say a very tragic history of not paying attention to what the president of the American branches were talking about, because I mean, like, shit, like the few things they listened to them on were like wild successes, and everything else, and that's why Sega's not a hardware company anymore.
Well, just think, Sega actually probably has a library that could compete in terms of a first party at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you include all the Atlas stuff, if you include Sonic and Yakuza and all that stuff, plus you go back and look at like Sega GT, could definitely compete with something like Gran Turismo or Forza. Like, they have.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it, and people are probably gonna think I'm a big ass fucking heretic for saying it, but
probably.
But Sega, I think the best thing that could happen to Sega was they got out of hardware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean they clearly have a vision now of what they want to do, right? And,
yeah.
I think Sega's probably in the best position they've been in since the Genesis, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a whole expansion pass on that somewhere.
Nice.
It's an old one, but a good one nonetheless.
As far as what I've been playing, I rolled credits on Pokemon Legends Arceus because I'm hell-bent on completing games that I started. That was a topic of ours a while ago, and it was bothering me that I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
So I rolled credits. It was a
noble
letdown.
woman. You noble woman, you.
And technically, there's still a lot of additional endgame content where you could meet Arceus, but you need to continue. And I was, catching and evolving my Pokemon. And then I learned I have to capture every single Pokemon to meet Arceus. And that's when I put it down. I'm like, I ain't got time for that. So I finished it. I got all my Eevee evolutions. That's all I cared about. I played Procession to Calvary. It started as a What Bucket item at Extra Life, and I liked it, so I purchased it. It was on sale. I couldn't finish it because I think there might be an issue or glitch in my game, because I am getting an item from a safe. In order to access the safe, you need to click on the painting and then click on an area of the painting, and when you do that, it drops the painting and reveals the safe. I did that. It didn't work. I even looked it up after the fact on guides to make sure I'm not messing something up. But no matter what I did, it didn't reveal the safe. So, not for lack of wanting to, I'm actually really frustrated that I can't finish it, because I think it's so brilliantly silly. Like, I love Procession to Calvary. I keep saying, I almost want to say Calgary, but it's Calvary. So I played that. And then just more Mario Rabbids Sparks of Hope. Because I brought my Nintendo Switch with me on vacation, but I left my Steam Deck at home, and I was pissed because I bought Legend of Tian Ding or something, and I wanted to play that instead.
I've heard that's a really fun game.
Right? So I'm going to start playing that now. Technically, I did pre-order Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, which does launch Friday, but I'm not like chomping at the bits necessarily to spend a ton of hours on that. It's really more for Nikolai. That's what I've been playing.
Nice. LeRon, what about you?
Well, apologies to everybody that could not catch the live episode of Crossroads last night because we announced way ahead that it was the God of War episode. I've currently been doing a replay of the original 2018 God of War, and while Stoy has been working his way through God of War Ragnarok, and trust me, it was like we just met in the middle for the whole thing. Like it was so yeah, like I'm replaying God of War 2018, and you know, for people who may not have been listening to Crossroads, I was at the end of God of War in the original playthrough back when it came out in 2018, but I just never. I'm one of those people, like, I have a hard time finishing games because sometimes I do not want the story to end. So God of War was one of many casualties of that gaming year because the Spider-Man game was also one too. Which Miles Morales comes out this week on the PC, which means I finally have like the whole collection on my PC, like Spider-Man and Miles Morales is remastered. Even though I already have them on PS5. But anyway, so God of War, you know, I gotta say, there's something about it this time that's really making me appreciate the game this time, and I've also noticing all the nuances and stuff. I mean, it's not like I didn't notice them the first time I played, but all the nuances of Kratos and his relationship with Atreus and stuff like that, not only are we seeing Atreus, like grow up, and like mature and stuff like that, we're also seeing Kratos mature as a father figure and stuff like that, and it's just amazing. I didn't realize how many times I'd actually miss like moments when like Atreus does something and Kratos like he scolds him for it, but at the same time he's also trying to reach out and he's like I want to hug this kid so bad, but he doesn't do it and stuff like that. It's crazy and stuff like that. Just all the nuances and stuff like that. And like there's a lot of emotion. And the cool thing about it is I've been watching my roommate play Ragnarok, and I appreciate the Santa Monica studio just wanted to continue the story. They did not fluff up the sequel in any way. Like it's basically like, hey, like here's the second part of the game. We just finished it. Go at it, stuff like that. So you pick it up and you play it, and there's nothing you relearn some of the mechanics, but there's nothing you have to learn as far as like playing the game, and it's great. There's definitely a lot of emotional parts in Ragnarok. Like the first 10 minutes alone are gonna have you feeling some type of way. I'm gonna say that, and man, like seeing more and more the Norse figures like Thor, Odin, Heimdall, Lady Sif. If anybody's watched the Thor movies, these names all sound familiar, but their interpretations are insane. Because like this is the true. Well, not true, because these are all interpretations. Because I don't think Odin the myth is anything like Odin in this game. I'm just gonna say that because for you people who kind of want to know what Odin's like, he's not a magnanimous asshole like Anthony Hopkins is in Thor movies. he's more of a smart ass.
Fair.
So yeah, there's that. So God of War has been my thing. I've also been playing a little bit of catch up. The second half of Star Trek Prodigy, which is the animated show that's supposed to be a more kid friendly show, came back on a couple of weeks ago. Actually, we're 3 episodes into the final half of the season and stuff like that. And I got to tell you, like, for you Star Trek fans, like, this might be kid Star Trek, but this is adult Star Trek disguised as a kid show. Because man, like they're doing some stuff that I feel like, as a longtime Trekkie, I feel like some of the older shows should have been doing this stuff. So it's amazing. And I saw Wakanda Forever Saturday.
Yeah, how was that?
Ooh.
That movie was amazing. Oh my God, the movie was amazing. Of course, I have a litany of things to pick apart with it though, because like I feel like
here we go.
Oh,
No,
I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want anyone that has not seen the movie. I don't want my opinions to taint like what they may expect from the movie. The movie is great. I think the movie stands up just as well to the original Black Panther movie as this one does. There's a lot of twists, there's a lot of turns, there's a lot of surprises and stuff like that. And
they had
this
a
movie,
lot to overcome with this movie, though.
They did. And this movie also is the end of Phase 4. So like we've got the new series coming out. This Wakanda Forever itself spawns two new Disney Plus series. So get ready for that. We got Ironheart, and which everyone already knows Ironheart in this movie. So yeah, I'm not spoiling anything on that one. But there's another one that I'm not going to say anything about. Because like you have to see the movie to figure out what's going on, and it's got nothing to do with Namor.
Yeah.
And I'm saying Namor too because we actually learned the proper pronunciation of his name finally after all these decades of reading the Submariner comics.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Wakanda Forever is great. My boyfriend doesn't know this, but I saw it without him. Yeah. Well, he had work things to do, and I had the Secret Friends Unite podcast going on. They invited me because they wanted to hear they wanted to do like a spoiler cast for the movie, and I was like, I can't let these guys down. So I went and I got up Saturday morning and saw it. But like I said, my boyfriend doesn't know I've seen it, but we're going to see it Sunday. So I did miss the first couple minutes of the movie, so it's not like I'm going to be completely like, oh yeah, I've seen this before. There's some stuff I missed. So yeah, so there's that. But yeah. He's not listening to this pod. Hold on, I'm a mod. Let me check and see who's in the room right now. There's no way he's listening to us, and then I'm going to get a random ass text.
Wow.
Yeah. But definitely go out and see Wakanda Forever. It's gonna, depending on how you felt about the original Black Panther, and of course like Chadwick Boseman and stuff like that, it's gonna pull at your heartstrings. It is.
Yeah.
It is. And for people who are wondering, there is no end credit scene. So once you get past the mid credits, you can go home.
Ooh, okay.
Well, it does the opposite though, doesn't it? Have like a cold open. The first time a Marvel movie has a cold open. That's what my boss told me today.
No, because Civil War had a cold opening.
Did it?
You talking about when you say cold opening? What do you mean?
Like before, like the big Marvel logo shows up. Like the movie just starts.
It starts, yeah. Civil War just started.
Did it?
The reason why I know this is because I just watched Civil War.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was wrong then.
Oh no, there's a bunch of Marvel movies that had cold opens. Ant-Man had a cold open.
Does it?
Yeah.
Then Twitter was lying to me, and I just forgot all the Marvel movies that happened before.
Yeah, Ant-Man starts with Hank Pym coming in and punching the shit out that dude, in front of Peggy Carter and Howard Stark at the Triskelion as it's being built.
You're right. All right. Well, never mind then. I just sound like an idiot. That's fine. I always do. So
I guess
different.
I guess we should have continued doing standard definition Marvel. I guess we should. I'm just messing with you. That's all the major stuff that's been going on with me. I am definitely trugging along because I'm going to finish God of War, then I'm going to jump back on Uncharted 4 and beat Uncharted 4, and then beat Uncharted Lost Legacy, and then it'll be time because Callisto Protocol will be out, and I'll be playing that, and then that will take me into Dead Space Remake, and as soon as I beat Dead Space Remake, because I know everyone called me a filthy liar for the entire month of October, I was supposed to play all 3 of the original Dead Space games. I know I didn't do that. So my promise to you is as soon as I beat the Dead Space Remake, I'm going to go back and retrospective the original Dead Space trilogy.
You should play them at the same time.
I'm mad Stephanie Sturgeon me.
What? I was waiting and waiting and waiting.
Ron, you should play them at the same time. Game Informer did that with the Resident Evil remake when they played the original and then the remake. Like they used to do
they played chapter for chapter. Basically?
Yeah, they used to do this show called Super Replay. I don't know if they do it anymore. I haven't really been paying attention, but I still watch a lot of the old ones. And like for Resident Evil, they would play an hour of the original and then an hour of the remake, and then they would just keep going. like every other episode was like, and they would compare them while they played them.
That's an idea, but I think I need someone to ride shotgun with me on that one.
Ooh, that's a
That's an idea.
grind, dude. That's an idea,
yeah,
but that's a grind.
That's a grind because I mean, like, because like I'm on the. It's gonna be interesting because, like I admitted earlier in the show, like Dead Space 1 damages my calm. It's a I have a history of Dead Space because, but it's because I have a history of survival horror, and like I stopped playing survival horror games like somewhere after Resident Evil 4 because the survival horror formula to me got stale. Like it just didn't do what it was supposed to do anymore and stuff like that. And I didn't really come back to it until like Dead Space comes along. I see these trailers and I was like, and anyone that knows me knows that I love like Ridley Scott's Alien, James Cameron's Aliens and stuff like that. I'm looking at Dead Space and I'm like, oh my god, this is basically like like a xenomorph movies like heaven right here, for me. So I was like, I will give this a chance. It's sci-fi horror, sci-fi horror in space. Like you got my attention, basically.
Yeah,
I loved it, but I also remember, and it was the first one to make me feel kind of what I felt like back playing the original Resident Evil back in 1990. Resident Evil 1 came out 98? No. That's too late. 96. It gave me that same feeling again, and it also reminded me why I hate dying in survival horror games. I really hate it. So Dead Space it left the same imprint on me that the original Resident Evil left on me, and that's saying something because like a lot of people can't say that they felt like something the same way they felt it the first time they ever experienced it. So playing Dead Space Remake alongside Dead Space 1, interesting. How do I do it? Do I play the remake and then I play an hour of the remake, then I play an hour of part 1, or do I play part 1 then play the remake?
Play part 1 and then the remake.
Oh, okay.
That way you'll be that way you can talk about the changes and how fresh it is. I'm telling you.
Okay. You know what? That's an idea. I mean,
I'm going to add to that, right? Because before you even get to the remake of Dead Space, and if you plan on doing the, remake versus original, you're going to be playing through Callisto Protocol, which is directed by Glenn Sheffield, one of the original directors of Dead Space. So in essence, you're kind of doing like a spiritual successor, a reimagining, like basically what happens if I took my stuff from Dead Space and made a new game, right? So you're going to have that, and then you're going to move right into Dead Space Remake. So already there's a bit of a comparison of like,
I see.
Past and present, and
like
then
this.
you're doing that.
I like this. Okay. All right,
We're writing your content for you, LeRon. Writing it for you.
I appreciate you guys. I will send y'all some cupcakes.
Will it happen? I don't know.
Right? Because I'm telling you, podcast life, and work life are oh my god, it's sucking my time.
I know. There's a lot. It's too much.
Almost like I do too. It's almost like I do too many shows during the week.
No, not enough. Not enough.
No, I have.
We're thinking about making the show daily, LeRon. I'm just kidding.
I was about to say like that. That's the show that has the real rotating cast, right?
Oh, I'm just kidding. Man, I would cry every night.
Remember how we had big plans for a show that it was gonna have a rotating cast.
What, this one?
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah. Then Stephanie stuck around, and then we couldn't. I'm just kidding.
Can't get rid of me.
Like this one, After Dark, it was always supposed to be every new show had different faces.
Yeah, but then nobody wanted to do it.
I know. Everybody was so excited for it, and then I was like, hey, like After Dark's here, and then I was like, man, like you could hear crickets and tumbleweeds.
Yeah. It's because when it gets real, it gets real. Have you heard some of this shit we talk about?
Holes? Come on. Do we have to bring up holes again?
No,
I mean,
don't.
We can.
No. I prefer my cousin not know about that episode.
Uh-oh. I might have to
we have a really
dig back in the archives.
we have a really famous episode of Boss Rush After Dark called Holes. That's all I'm going to tell you.
We're gonna stop there. Corey, what have you been playing?
Thank you.
So I too was on vacation last week. I also took my Switch on vacation.
Y'all are slackers.
Also did not play it one lick. But I did play some. So
First of all, were you able to successfully get your cousin to go with you?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Because it was starting to sound like it was about to become an ordeal.
Nope, we did it. We got it. Everything
Awesome.
was good. Yeah. So we did get caught in the storm that was going on down there, the tropical storm or hurricane. I don't know what it was by the time it hit us, but so the parks were closed half the day Wednesday and Thursday. But they did kind of they had activities and coloring stations and games in the lobby of our hotel, and they brought a lot of the characters in, so my daughter got to color with like Elastigirl and Doc McStuffins. It was like a weird combination of characters, and watch movies and stuff with them in the lobby. But they also made the arcade free, and in the back of their arcade they had a lot of classic games. No fighting games though, because it's Disney. But
what type of BS is that?
Yeah, I don't know. Not. I don't think anybody's going to Disney World to play in the arcade for multiple hours on end. You know.
I feel like an arcade is like the biggest like attraction for people who just want to take a break.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have a lot of stuff down there. They have like, I don't know, a bunch of stuff, I guess. I don't know where I was going with that, but I played some Donkey Kong, original Donkey Kong. That game, man. That is a weird game. It also, Mario's jump in that game feels like trash. Like, it's just like
it's the floatiest. That's where Luigi got his jump from.
Yeah,
it's so floaty.
Yeah. Plus, like when you jump, you just commit. You're committed. You know.
Yeah.
And if you hit that jump button too early, you can't switch directions. You can't do anything. You're committed.
Yeah. If you jump straight up, there is no like drifting over like how we do in Mario now, where you can jump and start pressing the button and he'll start drifting.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you jump, he goes straight up. If you're not pressing a direction.
Yeah. It's so I played some Donkey Kong, and then I played the far superior game, Donkey Kong Jr. Okay, I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but Donkey Kong Jr. far superior to Donkey Kong.
I don't believe it's a hot take because I agree. Like Donkey Kong Jr., I feel like Donkey Kong Jr. sucked more quarters out of me than Donkey Kong did, and I played the fuck out of Donkey Kong.
Yeah, I played some Galaga. Galaga was fun. Played some Pac-Man. Also, played some Miss Pac-Man. And let me tell you, Miss Pac-Man is the closest thing to a perfect game since Tetris. Okay? And I guess technically Miss Pac-Man came out first. So, but what a gem of a game Miss Pac-Man is. I play it not very often, but when I do, I'm always reminded that game is just amazing. The mazes are awesome. Just the strategy of using the maze to your advantage, the different mazes that they have. It's just great. Miss Pac-Man is great.
Learning the ghost tendencies.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's just really cool. They also had Pac-Man Battle Royale there, and it was like this wall-sized screen with like 6 players and trying to
Oh, yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah.
It's not very good, but it was funny to watch everybody try to eat each other, and then they all got killed by the ghost because they weren't paying attention. And then when I got home from vacation, I played some Nier last night. It was the first time I played games in like 2 weeks, and I don't know, man. Nier's a gem.
Nier Replicant or Nier Automata?
Automata.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I will get to Replicant at some point, but Nier Automata is pretty good. It's pretty good. So, no spoilers for those who haven't played this 5-year-old game.
I think I put like 300 plus hours into that game.
Oh my gosh, it's that long?
Damn.
What?
It's not that long. It's not that long. It just, you can do a lot in it.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, have you ever played any of the Nier series?
No, no.
Yeah, I haven't.
Okay. No spoilers. I will just say that there is a point of no return, and I really mean like a point of no return.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. I mean, the game's
well,
been spoiled for me because I didn't know if I was ever going to play it. So some of the podcasts I listen to have done near spoiler casts. I'm not going to spoil it here, but I do know the point and what happens and everything. And I'm really interested in the journey of getting there and seeing how it unfolds now. But yeah,
fantastic game.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if I'm ever gonna either have the time or the patience, or, it's not a game that I would typically play, even though like I do like third-person action RPGs. So I don't know why I thought that, but yeah, when it came out on Switch, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna bite the bullet and play it because all anybody ever does is say good things about this game, and so I'm glad I did. That's all I'm saying. I'm glad I did. So, yeah, but that's it. Bunch of arcade games and Nier. Also, I watched like 7 episodes of Andor in a row, which was a good choice. Great show. The prison arc is a good one. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't want to spoil it for anyone. All right. Well, do we have a topic? I mean, we've been going for that almost an hour and a half already.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I like when the episode kind of just unfolds itself.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the way Andor is set up is like every 3 episodes has its own arc, and then the next 3 episodes have an arc, but they're all obviously connected because it's the same show.
No, I meant I like when the podcast episode unfolds itself.
Oh, I thought you meant TV show episodes. Whatever.
I have not started watching Andor yet. Like I've literally seen maybe like the first 10 minutes of the first episode. That's about it.
I'm gonna say the first 2 episodes are really slow, but everything after that has been. And this is coming from someone who's not a huge Star Wars fan. It's probably my favorite Star Wars thing. Especially since Disney took over. So, but yeah. Anyways, do we want to ask some fun questions to Just Tony?
Oh God.
I think that would be fun because the only thing I had top of mind was to talk about the Game Award nominations or the Grammy nominations, but it's not necessary.
We can do that too if you want.
Dude, the Game Award nominations is great.
Yeah, we talked about it last night.
Yeah, we can talk about those for a little bit. I mean, we don't have to name every single game in every single category. That feels like that would take like 3 hours, but
well, you can always refer to bossrush.net where a certain copy editor wrote a fantastic article covering many of those categories.
David Lasby. Yes. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
I'm just kidding.
You? How dare you?
I'm just kidding. Oh my gosh, a lot went up today.
Yeah, this whole you can win a gift card for writing so many news articles. It's really been effective, apparently.
Yeah. All right.
But I like I kind of like the spread of nominations here. Makes sense. I mean, I find this weird irony with me and the Game Awards because I get excited for it that it's coming, but then when it's there, there's just a ton of trailers, and then everything goes to Elden Ring. I don't know. I just like everything's gonna go to Elden Ring.
Nah, I feel like God of War is gonna.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I feel like God of War might have taken some of the mind share.
Well, I hope so. I was just making like a joke about the fact that it's Jeff Keighley, and I feel like he's just so biased. But
Kojima didn't put out a game this year, so everything's on the table.
Yeah.
Although, didn't Death Stranding Director's Cut come out earlier this year? Was that this year or was that last year?
That was this year.
Yeah. Gosh, this year's been so long. What is happening?
I would just like to maybe like just also say that indies made a fantastic splash in the nominations as well. Like best indie. Oh my goodness, I'm not sure which one's going to win.
I do
Pulling
have
it-
I do have one bone to pick though.
Okay.
Why is Sifu nominated for best fighting game?
I was wondering that too, actually.
I thought it was a very fun fighting game. Now,
Well,
is it just because
it's
it's not
not
the
a-
traditional fighting game?
Yeah,
It's-
that's.
it's not a fighting game.
I feel like that's
Well,
like an.
you
action
fight
game.
in it.
You okay?
Yeah,
you
but
do
you fight in
it.
God of War too. You know, I mean.
No,
the
but
best
it's
fighting
martial arts based. Tony, back me up here.
I mean, I think
It's
I
an adventure
wouldn't
game.
classify
It's an adventure
Sifu
game.
as a traditional fighting game. It has a lot of fighting game mechanics, but it is definitely more of like an adventure game. But I mean, I do feel like if you're voting for games that came out this year in terms of fighting game, like it is a little bit of slim pickings if you're looking at the titles, right? You got DNF Duel, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, King of Fighters, Multiverse, and I mean, I guess I could have left it at 4, but like 5 seems like a good number to provide more choices. Honestly, they should just be like games that have rollback and has a really good player base for fighting games, because really that determines the fate of fighting games. Is like if you have rollback as a networking functionality, right? Can people play online, and can they play it online well? And then is there a large enough player base to where if you go in to look for matches, you can find people to play it against?
Okay, fine, but I think Sifu is appropriate under best indie game. So, but I'm just curious to see what you guys would think. For best indie game, we got Cult of the Lamb. Neon White, I haven't really heard much about, nor did I really seek out. But I think Neon White's put out by Annapurna.
Yeah, Ed loves that game.
Sifu, Stray, and Tunic. In my opinion, all 5 of those are incredibly amazing indie games, and I'm actually not sure which one would win.
I'm
Best
kind of leaning.
indie or best debut? Which wait.
Best indie. I know
Where's that
best
at?
debut.
Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Okay. There
I
it is.
think-
Okay.
I think from everything that I've heard about Cult of the Lamb, I feel like that's probably gonna be the favorite.
Yeah.
But
that's
also
something
Sifu was a big surprise. So it's probably
The
gonna be
reason-
one of those two.
The
I don't know, man.
The reason why I'm thinking Cult of the Lamb might be the winner for this is because like the Cult of the Lamb got 2 bits of DLC.
Yeah.
They got the Halloween event that was going on. They had like an additional add-on. So like they continued supporting the game after like it was out.
Yeah, every big podcast that I listened to talked about Cult of the Lamb for like a month straight. Like I don't know. I feel like that game has a lot of hooks in people. Although, isn't there what's that game that everybody loves now? Vampire Survivor? Is that the new one that everybody loves? Like, well, that's not nominated, so I guess that's not going to win. But
it's on debut indie. It's not on.
Is it?
It's not in best indie. Yeah.
Okay, that's gonna win. I think that's gonna win best debut.
I don't know. Stray is pretty good.
Thank you, Stray.
Stray is good. As a matter of fact, I feel like Stray is going to be like the underdog.
Yeah, like
Under Cat.
Oh. I can see Stray taking away best art direction, even though I mean it is going up against God of War Ragnarok or something, and Scorn. I mean, bunch of phallic symbols in Scorn, maybe that'll win. But I'm thinking Stray would be nice. I don't know. I swear, as a owner of an orange cat, Stray better win at least one award.
I mean, the reason why I wouldn't think God of War would win that is because it looks a lot like the original, even though like The art direction is amazing and it looks beautiful. I feel like sequels have a harder time winning certain categories because it is a sequel and we've already seen most of it before.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I haven't played enough of God of War. I haven't played God of War Ragnarok to even know what's changed and what's new. So, what do I know?
Surprisingly, I like for art direction. I would say Elden Ring is also a really good contender. Like the world that the Elden Ring created is like pretty impressive. The change in like the biomes that you end up going to, and just kind of how it blends everything together, right? Like it, I don't know. I I have a hard time thinking that Scorn is going to win because it's a game that is making oh god, now suddenly the name of the artist escapes my
H.R.
mind.
Giger.
Yeah, H.R. Giger, right? Like it is cool that they made a world where like it's like Giger's world, but it's just like H.R. Giger, right? I feel like for the other games that are in the running, you know, Stray, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, and Forbidden West, they kind of had to like sort of like make up what the world was going to be like, right? And then like go with the direction on that, you know, for Stray, it's like this like dystopian robot world, but it's like not quite robotic, and you know, like for Elden Ring, it's sort of this like weird fantasy type world, but there is like sort of like a falling out of like, you know, once pristine world, now, you know, parts of it are like really in ruins and whatnot, right? And then Horizon's always had a cool concept of like the world. Yeah, it's just like naturey, but the art for like robot dinosaurs, like man, chef's kiss. You take dinosaurs, you take robot, you put them together. Like, how could you lose? That's such a great idea.
Yeah, man, talk about a game that gets snubbed every time. Like both games have just. I feel bad for Horizon, although I still want to play it. I love that first game. It's the only platinum trophy I've ever gotten.
Wow. Well, here's another super important category because I found the results from last year really funny, and I'm just putting my bets on this for that reason. Best family game. We've got all Nintendo except for one.
Yeah.
What's the one?
Splatoon 3. Or not 2. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, because that's technically Ubisoft. Nintendo Switch Sports, and then Lego Star Wars. I bet you it's going to be Lego Star Wars, and Nintendo's not getting it.
I don't think people like Lego Star Wars.
It's gonna be Kirby. Like
no, I know. I'm being facetious.
We talked about this last night on
Kirby.
Crossroads.
That's not a family game. That's a single player game. Get out of here. Gross.
The only reason why Lego Star Wars is even in here is just so it's a token game that they're throwing in here just so it doesn't seem like it's 100% Nintendo category. And why aren't they doing that? Why aren't they making a game for each? Why aren't they making an award presentation for each console? Best Xbox game, best PlayStation game, best Nintendo game.
Xbox hasn't released any games this year.
Okay, well, too bad, too sad. You know.
It's gonna be the Hot Wheels DLC for Forza and Pentiment.
I'll be serious with you. That's how you embarrass companies into actually making better product. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Yeah, it's passive aggressive as hell. But at the same point, it's like, Phil Spencer came out a month ago and said, yes, we know, like we need more first party titles. He said that. He said, yeah, and he admits and stuff like that. So like. Stuff like that's the reminder. But going back to this best family game, hold on. Okay, best family. Here we go. Okay, I look at these titles, and honestly, only one of them feels like it's actually a family title, and that's Nintendo Switch Sports. And guess what? If we're gonna be nitpicky about that, it's in the wrong category.
That game was not.
Is not what they wanted? Is not what you guys wanted?
No, I mean it's weird.
I liked it. What do you it's weird.
It doesn't have. It's just not simple, and like I mean, it is simple, but I mean, like it's not. It's not like Wii Sports. It didn't have the same magic, you know. It's just kind of like it's fine.
What's family about Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope though? That's an RPG game.
Other than the fact that people think kids play it, because I feel like that's the best family title has become very misunderstood. They just want to shovel like any like kid-like games in there, and that's what they call family. That's the reason why I kind of take issue with this category sometimes.
Has Nikolai even thought about picking up Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope?
Yes, he's been playing it with me.
Okay.
Oh, absolutely. He takes it from me all the time.
You just validated it, family then.
To be fair, he doesn't really understand how strategy works, so he doesn't win a lot, but he still likes it.
To be fair, I don't understand how strategy works either.
It's a tactical RPG. I love the Mario and Rabbids. I haven't played Sparks of Hope, but I love the Mario and Rabbids games. Because I'm always looking for my next freaking Final Fantasy Tactics fix, and guess what? I got Tactics Ogre Reborn for the PC. But unfortunately, I can't play it because I promised Stoy and Andre that I would beat God of War and Uncharted 4.
That's fair. Great games. Uncharted 4 a little long, but great games.
Right.
Dude, there's like 3 spots in that game where I'm like, this should have probably ended by now.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's a lot of crate moving in that game.
The best part, I would say, that is like genius in Uncharted 4 is Nathan Drake at the beginning when he goes into his like little attic area where like you have the pop guns, whatever. It's brilliant.
Was so fun.
It's brilliant because it's like that is the game. That is Uncharted the game. And then they're like, Nathan went home and became a family man, but still he is like, as his setup for like fun is like Uncharted the game, except it's pop guns and like paper standees that you shoot at. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's another series I want to replay too. I have like it was funny because like I'm like I said at the top of the show, I have like an envelope now of like money to save towards the PS5 at some point. And I have like I've started making a list on my phone of like games I want to play or replay. You know, Ghost of Tsushima, Uncharted. Not that I haven't played those games before, but like, I haven't played Ghost of
thanks
Tsushima.
for the reminder. I got to continue playing that game too, Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, I want to play that, but also like, I kind of want to replay the first God of War before I play Ragnarok because when I played the original God of War, I played like part of it before my daughter was born, and then I didn't play it for like 5 or 6 months, and then I went back to it and kind of like had this odd experience with it, which is why I think it didn't hit quite as well as it did other people. But man, what are the Game of the Year nominations? I didn't even see besides God
Game
of War.
Of the Year is a Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and oddly enough, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which I personally was a little surprised by. But
I can tell you, man, Nintendo fans are going to be so mad that because like that game's in for Game of the Year and is not going to get Game of the Year.
I mean, yeah, but you've got Elden Ring, God of War, and Horizon all in there. Xenoblade is so niche compared to those games, and like, just I don't know if enough people even played it to even vote for it. You know what I mean?
But Stoy and I, because we had to explain Xenoblade Chronicles to Andre last night. Stoy and I said, this is like a true Nintendo property that technically isn't a Nintendo game. That was one of the best things to have happened to Nintendo in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Xenoblade. I think it's probably started with. I think a lot of people who own the Wii U.
Well, we meant Xenoblade Chronicles, not so much 3.
Yeah, no, I think the love for the series, like I know a lot of people liked 1 when it came to Wii, right? But I think the people who owned a Wii U started falling in love with the series with Xenoblade Chronicles X, which I still maintain is the best Xenoblade game that I've played. I haven't played 3, but Xenoblade Chronicles X is awesome. Especially like when you're 100 hours in and then you get to fight space dragons with your mech suit, which is but then like
But
two when
explain
two
to me one
came-
thing though.
Yeah.
Is this an offshoot of Xenosaga, or is this a sequel?
Oh boy, here we go.
No, you can
so-
say yes or no. Damn.
No, well, here's the thing. They're technically all connected, but they technically can't say they're all connected because Xenogears, Xenosaga, and Xenoblade are all owned by different companies.
Mm-hmm.
So Xenogears, that franchise owned by Sony, but is technically like the beginning
Square
of this.
Enix. Well, SquareSoft. I mean.
Was it Square?
Yeah.
Then
Yeah, SquareSoft. Yeah.
You're right. Are you sure? I
Yeah.
know they developed it. Or they, yeah, well, you're right. And then Xenosaga was Namco, Bandai Namco,
Mhm.
which is why Cosmos appears in Xenoblade 2 as a, what do you call it? The blade, not a blade. Blade? Blade.
Yeah, Blade.
Yeah. And then Xenoblade Chronicles is kind of like a semi-continuation, but not really, of Xenosaga.
Mhm.
But they can't say that because that franchise is owned by Bandai Namco and Nintendo bought Monolith. So,
Well, is not going to win Game of the Year. It's either
No.
going to be Elden Ring or God of War.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna say most likely Elden Ring, God of War. I feel like the other contenders have like a really good chance. This is actually one year where I look at the list and I'm like, oh, that's kind of a hard choice. Like, and I will declare my bias and say that I do love Elden Ring and God of War, but Forbidden West is really solid. Stray is amazing, and we all know internet loves cats, right?
Yep.
That's like
Yeah.
that's like the one secret weapon that we are not aware of, which is the internet loves cats.
Mhm.
And then you have A Plague Tale Requiem, which kind of we've been hearing bits about it, whatever. But when it came out, boy, did it come out swinging! It is a really solid game, especially if you like played the first one, right? And I kind of feel like that of all of this, I would probably say Plague Tale is the underdog, but not by a lot, just because how strong that game came out when it did. You know, it's hard to say. I actually feel like you're probably going to be sad that Forbidden West might not. Like, if I had to say that one game on the list that I don't think will win, that might actually be Forbidden West.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm picking up what you're putting down on that one.
Yeah.
How about most anticipated game?
Oh man,
It's Zelda. It's Zelda for sure.
it
was Zelda was not picked last year.
Because guess what? Nintendo fans aren't the entire gaming sphere of the world.
Yeah.
But this time there's nothing. Hold on. Let me pull the category up just to make sure, because we talked about this last night too. And Stoy, Andre, and I. Okay, so we've got Starfield, Final Fantasy 16, Resident Evil 4 remake, Hogwarts Legacy, and Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. I'm telling you, honestly, Zelda would have been the most anticipated game last year, but Elden Ring was on there for a second year. And there's so much hype, and Andre was asking us, why was Elden Ring so hot, and it's because it was like the George R.R. Martin effect. When they found out George R.R. Martin from Game of Thrones was attached to this, people just went ballistic, and it became its own monster. But now that Elden Ring's out the way, Starfield's a powerhouse, Resident Evil 4's a powerhouse. Nothing's getting in Zelda's way now.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Tears of the Kingdom is probably going to be game of the year for this year coming, if it comes out on time.
Well, Tony, what do you think? Because part of me is kind of worried for Final Fantasy, not
I
4.
exactly. I would not underestimate Final Fantasy 16. You
Square's lost its touch.
Oh man. Here's the thing. Square. The way you have to look at it is Final Fantasy is a single-player, narrative-driven RPG game directed by Yoshi P, who single-handedly revived Final Fantasy 14.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that franchise was like super dead, and he resurrected it to the point where I would say that Final Fantasy is probably 14 online is probably one of the most liveliest like MMOs out there right now, right? And people love him. He is like if you watch any fan like shows or stuff where he appears, people love this guy. And then to like have him at the helm of a single player game, I think it's like it's going to be nuts, right? And if you've watched any trailers for this game, it is like it is really really good. And I don't know, dude. I'm leaning towards Final Fantasy for this one.
Yeah, I actually think Square is in like the best spot they've been in a long time, because they've unloaded their Western studios, right? I mean that was kind of like their big.
And now they're crying about not having a presence in the West.
Well, that's their problem. But I mean, I think, I think they have like a clear goal now, right? They're super high quality, triple, quadruple A, whatever you want to call them, franchises are going to be on PlayStation, right? Like Final Fantasy VII Remake is stellar. Final Fantasy 16 looks amazing. Final Fantasy 14 is just bringing in the cash, right? Also, like Forspoken, I think it looks pretty cool. I think Forspoken looks really cool. I know a lot of people have issues with dialogue and stuff, but that's like every video game, so I'm not worried about it. And then you have like their kind of smaller projects that are making their way to Switch, right? With Octopath and Bravely Default and all these other smaller games, right? I think they have like a good thing going, and I think that's good for them. I mean,
okay. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, besides Babylon's Fall, like what's been their last kind of like quote unquote bad game, right? And technically that's kind of like the last of the whatever they were trying to do, right? The Avengers maybe, but like again, they've offloaded their Western arm, which okay, well they don't have those games anymore. So I mean, if you're just looking at the Japanese studios or their Eastern studios, like what was their last quote unquote bad release? I don't know. I think Square is in like we were talking about Sega earlier. I think Square is like in the best position they've been in a long time. So Nier's successful, right?
Okay.
So.
Okay.
I mean, Starfield probably is also very anticipated. It's Bethesda. It's Bethesda games, right? Like that kind of says a lot on its own. Resident Evil 4. I think of the remakes, like that one has been asked a lot, like by the fans. Like people have been wanting this one.
I've just never understood like the whole Resident Evil 4 thing, in all honesty, and the fact that it's had so many like ports and rehashes, and now it's got a full-blown remake going on, which I'm amped for, because like I didn't quite appreciate the Resident Evil 4 in its original iteration, so I'm amped for it. But I'm just like, I'm so sick and tired of Resident Evil 4. Like, why the hell did y'all skip Code Veronica and go straight to 4?
Yeah, that's the one. Like, I get like Resident Evil 4 is beloved, and that theoretically like makes sense from a monetary standpoint, but gosh, Code Veronica is the game that needs it the most.
I
would argue that was the one that needed it more than 3 at this point.
Rumor has it that we might get our wish. Now, I was gonna say I was gonna make a hot take and say that personally I liked Code Veronica, but for a lot of fans, Code Veronica ranked pretty low on their list of Resident Evils.
Which preps it great. It's great for a remake. Like, to make it better. I mean, I know they would have to take a lot of liberties, right? But like, you can totally make that better, right?
Yeah.
I would say I am excited also for Hogwarts Legacy. Um, I don't know. It's hard to be a Harry Potter fan without going into too much of the politics. There is a lot of baggage that studio has to contend with. And it's not necessarily fair to the devs, especially to all the people working on a franchise that has nothing to do with the political aspect of it, but that kind of sets it up to fail. You know, like forces outside of their control is essentially kind of setting them to fall, which sucks. Like it was a really hard situation to be in.
It is. I did pre-order it, and Tony, I did end up ordering that limited edition Ravenclaw fossil watch.
Oh no!
But I blame Klarna because it's like, oh well, you could pay it divided by 4 over time.
Yeah, you sent me those. You sent me those the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, I kind of want one, but I would not live to see it shipped to my house. Yeah, I mean, Hogwarts Legacy, like I don't know if you guys watched that video that they put out yesterday or 2 days ago or whatever. The character creator alone is like, I'm pre-ordering this game just so I can make characters, I guess. But yeah, aside from the politics of it all, like that game looks super cool, and Avalanche is a good studio. I mean, this is obviously like the biggest undertaking they've had to date, right? I mean, they did Disney Infinity, which was an interesting project, right? But they also had a lot of help from like Ninja Theory and a couple other studios. But then they did that Cars racing game. But like this is a huge project for them. I hope they can pull it off because it looks beautiful. I like the world of Harry Potter a lot. And it's just a world that you just want to explore and be in. And I hope they get it right just for the sake of like that studio does not deserve some of the stuff that being thrown their way,
Yeah, agreed.
So despite what you think of J.K. Rowling, like this game should be separated. It's one of those things where you need to separate the art from the artist at this point.
Yep.
Especially a game that she has nothing to do with except for like, oh, she created the IP.
Exactly, because it's not even. I mean, I am a big fender of this. It's not a Harry Potter game. It's not about Harry Potter. It sets the world.
Yeah.
But it's not Harry Potter.
Yeah, and that's the messaging too. Is like this is a Wizarding World game, right? I mean that's kind of like I feel like that's the thing too. Is they're trying to get away from like the Harry Potter name and just go with Wizarding World, right? Like that messaging is always muddy too because it's like, well, people know Harry Potter. Wizards are that's such a generic term at this point, especially in fantasy, like. Oh, Wizarding World. Okay, well, there's wizards in Lord of the Rings. There's wizards in whatever other games we're playing.
You're
right?
a wizard, Harry.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a it's a messy and complicated situation, right? And it's hard to remove the artist from the artwork because they're still very active in the very kind of I guess like hate speech that she spouts, right? And then to top that off, it's like she does get a cut of the profit because she's so entrenched with WB, right? And it becomes kind of like at some point, you have to let your wallet do the talking because no one else is listening to anything else, right? Um, and I understand that, but the situation is just like way more complicated when it involves, like devs who have, spent 4 or 5 years of their lives on this, only to see it be kind of like destroyed by one single person, so to speak, right? I
Yeah.
don't know.
But
It's
like the thing that I have been comparing it to, and not just kind of recently, is like, well, did people stop going to see Toy Story movies because John Lasseter was, you know, a terrible person at some point, right? Like I don't know where that line is, like
it,
I
it,
don't
it
know. It's
yeah, yeah.
but like, Toy Story 4 came out without him at the helm, right? And all these, and Pixar still exists without him, right? So I know it's not exactly the same thing, but I think it's comparable in a
There's
sense.
definitely been cases of like similar-ish interest or like similar-ish stories. I feel like the big thing is like um, what separates it is like most of the cases is like still not active, right? Like the thing about Harry Potter is just that like it gets worse every time you check this person's Twitter, right? Like she, in a way, she has become she who shall not be named, right? Like she's become the villain of her
Yeah.
own story,
Yeah.
and like it just gets worse every time you check Twitter. And it's almost like they're doubling down on it. There's not even a sense of remorse, right? I think if if there was even a resemblance of remorse, right? Maybe there could be a way, maybe, but there's like not even a resemblance of remorse, right? And once again, like you know, um, I don't like to like get too public about like personal political views or anything like that, right? But when you see stuff like that, you're just like, man, what? Like, why couldn't you just be like a villain like everybody else and just go hide in your villain hideout and count your money? Like, go
It's
do that. Stop
this
being a public facing villain.
this situation is weird too, right? Because like, you know, she's so pro like gay, and I know that sometimes those groups don't like to be just like grouped together, right? Even though it's like the LGBTQ community, but like for someone that's so pro gay and actually has like gone back and fleshed out backstories to give like Dumbledore is gay, right? Like that's like a big thing that like she wouldn't be supportive of
Well, I can
this,
simplify. I can simplify what the problem is, because in the same way that the law society looks at like gay homosexuality as an attack on masculinity, she looks at the whole trans thing as an attack on femininity, and that's the problem. That's honestly the problem. That's what it is, and I'm not sure if she just has preconceived notions, or something happened to her in her life that like she can't trust trans women for whatever respect or whatnot. But uh, it's sad that someone who at face value is an ally, is also an enemy.
Right, right. And the really like the bottom line is like it's not hard to just like understand, right? Like because really it's like
Yeah.
if you have a level of compassion and a level of understanding, you'll see that it's about personal like happiness and fulfillment,
Yeah.
right? Like and that doesn't impact you in any way whatsoever at all.
Mm-hmm.
It really doesn't. And like to make that issue so about like you, rather than the people that are actually struggling with, you know, dealing with the world and how the world views them, is like why? Just like, you could make it so much easier, you know? But
Yeah,
alas.
gay and trans people already deal with so much as is. You know, like it looks every day you turn around, it looks like rights are getting stripped away, or like the ability to just exist is being taken away and stuff like that. And then you have someone that's literally a creator god, you know, in their own right, and they're helping to justify it.
Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think we are diving a little too deep into politics, and I think I'm going to, you know, stop myself from going any deeper.
Yeah. Hogwarts Legacy looks cool, everybody.
I knew as soon as that Hogwarts game got mentioned, this was going to happen. I knew it.
And like we try not to dive
That's
into
why
this.
that's
a
why
lot
that game
too,
is,
but
and that's why that game is not getting fucking game of the year. It's got too much baggage attached to it.
yeah, I mean, there's already been outlets publicly saying they're not going to cover it because of that.
Wow.
So
Which is a shame because I agree, like, you know, like we should definitely give the devs their due on this,
Yeah.
you know.
which, like, again, I don't know how much my opinion really matters or doesn't matter or not, but like I feel like that's another reason why I want to support this game is like I don't want to support I think everybody should be treated equally. But I also don't think these devs should be blacklisted because they're working on an IP that someone who has said terrible things created the IP. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, that's just gamers just being blind idiots, you know, because it's like, you know, okay, if J.K. Rowling like wrote the script, composed the soundtrack, you know, programmed the game and everything, yes, don't support this shit, you know. But that's not the case. Like you know, and we said earlier, like she barely has anything to do with it, you know.
yeah.
So but you know, gamers can't see their own objectivity sometimes. You know, it's something I feel like it's something I complain about once a month, you know, on any of the various podcasts I'm on. Like gamers get in their own fucking way sometimes.
Yeah. Well, the game looks cool. I will be buying it because I think it looks cool. And
Nerd.
I know. Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw. I don't know. Who am I going to be? Who's going to sort me?
I'm a Ravenclaw.
I'm also a Ravenclaw, according to Pottermore and the other tests that I took that are not real, but I don't care.
I mean, it doesn't matter because if you recall, at the end, you can always choose.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter, I suppose. It is nice to kind of just like let it go and have the sorting hat sort it out for you. But if you had a strong opinion about something, you probably could still be like, nah, those are the homies that I'm gonna roll with.
Yep. Speaking of rolling, we're gonna roll on out of here because we've been going for 2 hours.
Oh man.
But I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this episode of the Boss Rush Podcast. You can find us live on Wednesday nights if you want to join the live chat. No pressure, but join us. Or you can find it on Mondays on your favorite podcast service or on YouTube. If you want it a week early, you can head over to Patreon. I'm putting LeRon to sleep. Look at this guy. Tony, thank you for joining us. It was a real
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure
Thank
having
you.
you on. You are
Thank you for
welcome back
joining us.
anytime.
Thank
Where do you want people to follow you? Do you care? Do you want to?
I mean, I don't care. My Twitter is @ServBotWoo, in which I believe I haven't used Twitter in a bit.
Well, pretty soon it might not exist. So.
Yeah, exactly, right. But yes, I am @ServBotWoo, and yeah, I do game design, and I do fighting games.
Nice. Stephanie, where do we find you?
Gasp. People can find me on the internets, Twitter and Instagram at Klimov, KLIMOV_author. Articles on bossrush.net. I am also on the EXP cast and After Dark.
LeRon.
You can find me on social media as well as YouTube and Twitch by looking up X's803. That's also my PlayStation Network ID as well as my Steam tag. Don't forget Tuesday nights on my YouTube channel. Normally is the Crossroads Video Game Podcast, where me, Stoyovich, and Andre Wilson talk about everything PlayStation, PC, and Xbox gaming. And you can always find me also on the Boss Rush After Dark show.
And you can find me at I am Corey HD on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find me on Nintendo Power Block, on Expansion Pass, on After Dark, Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast, and various other things here on the Boss Rush Network. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye.
Bye.
So long.
Take care, everyone.